Houston, thank you so much for checking out the Sportsline Podcast on our CHCH and Parrot Media platforms. I'm your host, Bubba O'Neil. As we always say in these parts, if you can make it in Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara, you can make it anywhere. And it is those athletes, teams, executives, and broadcasters who have rightfully earned the spotlight on our Sportsline Podcast. Today, we're going to go roundtable style to debate many of the hot topics that I think need to be discussed. So we bring in our very good friends on the Sportsline Podcast. We've done this before. CHCH Morning, man. It's funny because I'm saying CHCH Morning. I still have to get used to that, not say 900 CHML. Yeah. But argument, you know me, love him. I'm Rick Zamperin, and of course from the Hamilton Spectator, one of the fine columnists for. How many years has it been now with the Hamilton Spectator?
Since 98.
Wow.
So,
98.
Yeah.
Wow.
1998. I do feel like, though, we're like Felix and Oscar here. You tell who the TV guy is and who the slob newspaper guy is. It's,
I'm not on for hours. He's already been on.
Yeah.
And
I don't know which one is Felix and which one is Oscar, but you can tell which one is which.
There's no wrong answer.
No,
this is just the way he is now. He's changed, guys.
Yes.
He's now a fine dressed man. But hey, guys, so much to talk about, and I bring you in because I always feel like, along with maybe one of our other colleagues that maybe one day we'll bring him in, Mr. Milty, our old guy Milty. Mm-hmm. Like we can bring him in. But when I talk about especially local sports, I want to talk to you guys. You guys have certainly been in this area for the longest amount of time and certainly have the most experience. So let's dive right into which I think some things that do need to be discussed. Just over a week ago, PWHL comes to Hamilton, the brand new TD Coliseum. 16,012 people are in the arena. Toronto versus Seattle. It didn't matter about who the teams were. It was more about the event. I think that kind of fan base would tell me that there is support for at least women's hockey in the PWHL. Rick, I'll start with you. Hamilton, PWHL, is it a match made in heaven?
I think it could be if it's done right. Listen, this is a hockey community. We love our Bulldogs, even though they're now down the road in Brantford. The previous existence of that was in Hamilton. I thought was successful, certainly on the ice. Off the ice, you can make a debate as to whether it was a revenue stallion. But listen, this is a hockey mad community. We love the Maple Leafs. A lot of Habs fans here, a lot of Sabres fans here. I think the PWHL, if done right, building that rivalry with Toronto just down the street, I think could be a winner.
So I've been thinking a lot about this over the last week, and because 16,000 is, wow, you got to have a team here, right? You got to have a team. It's one of the biggest crowds. They're on this takeover tour, and it's one of the biggest crowds they've had at any place they've been. And so you say, well, that proves that it would work here. And you guys have been around this area long enough to know, people watching have been around. We do a great job at supporting events. Mm-hmm. Hamiltonians show up for events. The question is this a novelty? Or is it something that people would come to game after game after game? People, I remember talking to people watching on CHCH, people say, well, I drove here 500 miles to come to this game. Are you going to come 15 times a year, 500 miles? Or is this because it's our one chance? I don't know the answer to it. Mm-hmm. And I know that talking to Jana Hefford, the commissioner of the league, is very confident that there's such a big audience down Windsor, Niagara, London area, that it would be that side of Ontario would all come here. She may well be right. But I'm not entirely sure that I would base my entire decision on one game. Yeah. That seems risky to do it on one game.
The other thing, too, is how many fans were not only checking out the PWHL, but had not yet been to the new TD Coliseum.
Good point.
And there might have been a lot of fans thinking, yeah, let's go check out the new stadium as well, right? So that's to be considered. And one game does not make as you said, a cemented decision to say this is going to work long term. Because there's no guarantee there.
I think that it's compared to many other sports, if they can put in 8,800 every night, and they've sold out, I think, this back-to-back seasons in Toronto, in an unserved market like Hamilton, when it comes to hockey, and the fact that women's hockey is still yet being serviced, it's still growing, I think it's a can't miss. I think it's a slam dunk. I think it works easily here in Hamilton.
You could be right, and I'm not taking the point that it can't or that it's wrong or that this was a fluke. I don't mean that. I just think we don't know. And let me say one other thing about the PWHL that I am a little concerned about. They are very, very aggressively pursuing expansion. They added 2 teams this year. They're talking about 4 more next year. That's another 100 players, basically. And if you grow too fast with not just them, any league, so that you don't have the players to keep the level high enough, people go to the game and they go, well, that's not that very good. So I'm hoping that it will grow. I'm hoping that there is the pool of players. So wherever they put it, Hamilton or Denver or Chicago or Detroit or Edmonton or Calgary or Halifax or Quebec City, any of the places, that this league doesn't water itself down too much so that it loses all the momentum that it has right now, because it has momentum.
Yeah. The other thing too to consider is, not to compare it to the Bulldogs or any other, National Hockey League franchise, is the PWHL doesn't play 82 games or 80 games. So you're not having to fill the venue or, sell tickets to 40 plus events, being that event town that we are. So you're selling, 14, 16, 18 games a season. Yep. Probably an easier sell, and at a price point that's much lower than the National Hockey League.
I think because it can, with that price point, it can attract to men, women, and kids of all ages. For sure. Right? I just don't know if you're going to get that if Hamilton were to get an NHL team or an NBA team, maybe even a WNBA team, which is of all the women's sports, it is it's the elite in terms of it's being run, because it's been run the longest and it's had the most success. I don't know.
I'd like to see another.
This is the question I need to ask you guys then. Exactly. How do we prove that Hamilton is ready for this?
So I'm not convinced that Hamilton is the favorite for one of the expansion teams. From everything we've heard, Denver sounds like it's almost a sure thing. Yeah. And Edmonton or Calgary is a sure thing by the sounds of it. And they'll probably want, if they're saying 4, Detroit and Chicago are both apparently being talked heavily about, and Quebec City is pushing hard for a team. So if Hamilton doesn't get it this year, I'd love to see over the next year or 2 or 3, until the next wave of expansion, a game here next year and the year after. And let's see if after game number 3, if everybody is still as jacked up, maybe you get 10,000 next time. Or maybe you still get 16, or maybe you fill every seat.
Based on what you're saying, though, that it's an event, you're just inviting another event, which we're going to do well at, right?
Yeah, but there is you're right, but there is an event where it's the first time ever that we've done it, and there's an event where, okay, I've seen it. Do I need to go to this? I'm not sure about the teams with this one. I don't know if let's see. I absolutely would love to have it back here. I would love to have it back here, and I would love, because here's the one thing. I don't want a team to come to Hamilton and not work. That to me would be the biggest problem.
We've had too many of those.
I want a team to come here, and I want it to work. And if you can have a reasonable level of confidence that that's the case, bring it on.
Rick, how does it not work?
Well, I kind of referenced to my earlier comments. If it's done right, it will work. And that means marketing dollars. That means, drafting and selecting the right players, having the product on the ice that a community can rally around. I think that's very important. But, it's got to work financially as well. And if you look at the other markets like, the Chicagos, the Detroits, the Calgarys, the Edmontons, much bigger markets than ours in terms of population, in terms of economic scale, the price point has to work as well. We're just down the street from Toronto. They can't be the same ticket prices as in Toronto. And that's not to say anything bad about Hamilton, but the economies of scale are different. So you got to build a rivalry, get a championship contender on the ice, and then let's hope the math works.
That's the biggest thing. You just hit it. I mean, you cannot overprice this too,
right?
And you can't make it so that people look and go, "Oh, I'm not doing that." And there are other things. The PWHL right now, every team they have is in an NHL city. Yep. And every team that they are talking about seriously is in an NHL city. And I don't know if that's a fluke or by design, that they think that we need to have that symbiosis or whatever, that we're going to, eventually tie in with the NHL somehow, like the WNBA. I don't know. But I think Rick is 100%. Pricing is going to be everything. If you get a team and then say, oh, we got it. All right, now it's going to be $150 a ticket. I think people are going to say, no thanks.
Yeah.
At season's end, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, by my count, had 29 pending free agents, and free agency will begin in February. The Tiger Cats have taken care of a couple of players that we'll put up on the screen now that I would say that are major men that needed to be taken care of, and there's another set of lists that's coming that obviously they're going to still have to take care of because many of their current pending free agents are starters. Now, to me, I look at that list and I'm like, wow, that's a very impressive list. I think almost every one of those 6 there are must signs. But then as we go into the next board here, this is just notable, guys. Notable, right? And many of them starters. Some of them all CFL, all ECFL. Guys, who needs to be taken care of, Rick? You call these games and have seen the successes and failures of many of them. Who's next on the list?
So can I pick 3? Let's leave the list up.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick 3 guys. If I was held down and said you only have 3 to choose from, my must re-signs on this list are Tim White.
Wow.
Ooh.
Greg Bell, and Julian Hauser. If I only had 3, those would be my 3 guys.
Because you can't keep everybody.
You can't, and they won't, because you can't. Because again, back to math, sometimes it doesn't work, and your team's never going to be the same. And I'd like maybe all these guys back, but from a price standpoint, guys are going to demand more money. They're going to get offers from other teams. They're going to be more than what they earned in Hamilton. So
there is a little bit more money this year.
There is, the cap's going up. Yeah. But, some players I'll point out Shamar Bridges might say, you know what, I was a budding superstar in year number 1, and I was not used as much as I thought it was going to be. I could go make X dollars in, you pick the city in the CFL. So when I pick out those 3 guys, I'm looking at 2 studs on offense and a guy who was their top defensive player last year on defense. So those are my 3 on that list.
Before, obviously, I want to get to you, Scott, here, but let's bring this up here. You bring up the name Tim White.
Yes.
Why?
Well, 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and despite that, fans pick him apart, and sometimes rightfully so. He makes some key drops in key areas. Had the big fumble against BC in overtime at home, and the Lions won that game. But here's a guy who year in year out is always at the top of the table in receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns. Like, what more do you play? Special teams. He's a good team glue guy. What more do you want from the guy? So if I'm going to bring anyone back, I'm going to bring back someone that I know is going to produce.
I think you have something to say to this.
I'm
Tim White.
I feel almost badly because Rick is Mr. Ticats. Rick calls the game. So
Feel free to express your opinion.
I disagree with Rick, and I'll tell you what. I would not bring Tim White back. I mean, look, I wouldn't not bring him. If you're saying I have 3 choices, he would not be one of those guys because he is going to cost you a lot of money.
Yep.
He cost him, his last contract cost him a lot of money.
And Julian Hauser, great player, getting older, going to cost them a lot of money as the East nominee for most outstanding defensive player. Greg Bell, I'm not convinced that Greg Bell was entirely a great running back. He had a very nice year, or was a product of the line that open hold.
Could they do the same with Johnny Augustine?
Well, for me, I'm looking at this, and my first guy on here would be Shamar Bridges, because I think he was putridly underused last year. I don't know what was going on. I think Shamar Bridges is a guy that could fill a lot of those Tim White catches if you use him, if you throw the ball to him. And he's coming off a year where he's not going to make a ton of money because he has to prove himself. So he's one of my first guys. And then take your pick of Wood, Manzi, Border. That offensive line was very good last year. And the only guy, they have 2 guys right now. They have Revenberg, and they have what's his name?
Dobson,
yes.
So I don't want to have to rebuild the entire offensive line and take a chance, because if you rebuild it and it doesn't work, what is Greg Bell? how protected is Bo Levi Mitchell, and does he get hurt again if he's starting to take sacks?
Oh, and so you're saying you need to rebuild this?
No, you've got guys that you know have worked with your offensive line.
Right.
So I'm looking at Woodmansey, I'm looking at Bordner, maybe whoever else, and I'm saying Barrow, I think, is still is not up there, but is on the list. I'd be looking at those guys as opposed to the big money, sexy guys.
And here's the thing too. So just on the two receivers, White, and I don't want to make this the White versus Bridges show, but those are two.
You know this, and we all know this.
Yeah.
Tim White has been a lightning rod for discussion for Tiger Cat fans, 100%. And that's why I'm okay with this back and forth.
Listen, but they're two totally different players.
Absolutely.
You have Tim White, who's 5'9", 175, a speedster who can, break the top off any defense, and you have Bridges, who's not just a possession receiver, but can be that guy at 6'4", 210. He can stretch the field as well, and he's got a huge catch radius. And I loved him in year number 1, but he never got the ball in year 2. So I'm wondering, can he reclaim? He also got hurt at the end of year 1 too. Can he reclaim his superstar status?
Well, it's amazing because we've seen him in all positions. Quite honestly, his rookie year he was in the slot. Yeah, he did a lot of work in the slot, and he was also the benefactor, I thought, of those wide receiver screens. And I thought he was pretty good in there, despite, like you said, he's kind of more of a lanky guy than Tim. Now, Tim has better all-out speed. That cannot be denied. I just think it's interesting between the two because you're right. I don't know if they can keep the two. I think you have to keep the likes, obviously, as they did of a Ternowski who can play as a Canadian receiver and play special teams. That makes him so valuable. But can I say this, guys? I think the strength of the Tiger Cats' offense, in fact, their team, is their secondary. I thought Amos, Peters, Katsantonis, Talbert, and Moxie were the most consistent unit on an 11-win team last season. And I feel like you got to bring them all back.
I would not say no to that because what we saw was fantastic, I thought, last year. Number 1 team in terms of turnovers. Then offensively, they took advantage, scoring the most points off those turnovers. Guys who are veterans, little mix of youth with Talbert in there. Peters being the shutdown corner, Stav being that general, in the back half of the defense. I liked everything I saw last year, so I would not say no to bringing all those guys back. As any front office of a CFL team is going to look at is who else is out there from a defensive, offensive, special team standpoint. The ratio comes into play, so sometimes it's not easy, and sometimes you're looking at another another team's list of free agents and say, oh, these guys are pretty good too. If I bring player A, B, or C in here, we might be even better than we were last year. So you got to take that into consideration as well.
And the idea of bringing them all back, as soon as you said that, one thought crossed my mind. They won the Grey Cup last year?
No.
They did not. They did not win the Grey Cup last year. You have to have changes. This team... and I'm not talking about entire changes because lack of continuity is sometimes a problem too, but you've got to make some changes. This team didn't do it, as it hasn't done it now for 26 years. You've got to make some changes. And I just not that we want to keep harping on this, if the question was if Tim White and Shamar Bridges were going to sign for the exact same dollar amount, I'd probably take Tim White because of the speed component that he can bring.
Right.
But they're not going to sign, I don't believe, for the same dollars. And for that reason, I think that Bridges could give you a high enough percentage of, if you get the ball to him, of what White would offer for a lot less money. And look, this is a team that has holes to fill, and you need to save your pennies for that salary cap so you can plug those holes, because it has been 26 years and it's time to get it over the top. Yeah.
One more name, if we can bring up that board one more time there, Mike. I think we could debate this for an hour show, but we can't obviously do that. There's one name that sticks out like a thumb to me. Okay. And that's the backup quarterback. That's the backup quarterback in Taylor Powell, right? Like, it is very interesting because he's the backup. He's not going to start, but there's not a lot of guys out there right now in the Canadian Football League that I would call starters. Taylor has not had a lot of starts, but he's got a trusted relationship with Bo Levi Mitchell. But again, Taylor's going to start to look and say, Bo may play forever. I don't know if I want to sit on the bench forever. Your thoughts, guys?
Well, I'll say this. Taylor Powell has earned the right to be a free agent and look elsewhere. And he could do that. I don't know. And I wouldn't blame him for doing that because he's looking at a guy, a future Hall of Famer in Bo Levi, who, knock on wood, played every game last year and did so very effectively. The East nominee again for most outstanding player, and the year before. The year before that was a very different story. So I look at the backup quarterback, whoever it is for Hamilton, is not going to see a lot of the field. Again, hopefully that Bo stays on the field. So whether it's Taylor Powell, whether it's whoever is in that slot, they're not going to see a lot of time.
Who's out there? The list of guys out there that are free agents. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want McLeod, Bethel, Thompson, and a Ticats. Right? Like,
the Ticats right now have 0 backup quarterbacks under contract. Yeah. They have Bo Levi Mitchell, and that is it. And if I'm Taylor Powell, look, there was one starting quarterback who started every game last year in the CFL. Mm-hmm. It does not happen. It's very unusual that it happens. It's very unusual. And look, we're not rooting for it. And again, as Rick did, touch wood, we're not rooting for a Bo Levi Mitchell injury. But the fact that a guy at his age has gone 2 seasons unscathed in a league where guys go down, it's highly unlikely. You hope, but it's highly unlikely that Bo Levi Mitchell can stay this healthy in perpetuity. Yeah. And again, I don't want to make it sound like we're going, oh man, he's destined to be injured. Not necessarily.
Well, it was the first time he played 18 games last year and the year before, for like the first time in a long time.
For a very long time.
And guys who are younger than him get hurt. It is a position where you just have to look around. You don't even have to, like we just talked about the offensive line and how good they were at protecting him. You've got guys who blow out Achilles tendons where they don't even get touched, or where they roll an ankle, or where they fall on a simple tackle and they break a wrist.
What happened to Bo in his first year?
There's a million things that can happen. And so if I'm Taylor Powell, I'm looking at this, and you're absolutely right, both of you, that you're sitting there. We don't even know what Taylor Powell is now because it's been so long since he had significant playing time. Yeah. The fact is, are you saying I truly believe that Bo Levi Mitchell is never going to miss another snap? And that for the next, because he signed him for 2 years, right? 2 more years, that he is going to play all the time and never get dinged up, and there's no chance of, and I'm going to go to another team where I'm probably going to sign as the backup, because what team right now is looking for a starter?
None.
So you're making a lateral move, and you're leaving one of the oldest quarterbacks in the league who has had a great run of health that, unfortunately, the statistics would say, the odds would say, doesn't last forever. I don't know where he goes to better his situation.
He'll love this question. All right, guys. As I ask at the end of every podcast, I know you do too, on Newsmakers. We talk about it on the news. We love response from our viewers, our listeners as well too. And most recently, CHCH received this letter, folks. Good afternoon. Longtime supporters are getting their renewal letters from Forge FC, and some are surprised at the massive increase. The supporters section, most diehard fans, are suggesting a 61% increase from last year. Johnny. This is from Johnny, and we've tried to sort of contact Forge FC. We have not received anything back from them in terms of this 61% number. Is this just an inflated number, a made-up number? At the end of the day, have ticket prices increased? I would probably think to some extent. That happens in every league and every sport. Where I'm going with this, guys, is Forge FC have had a tremendous amount of success in Hamilton, on and off the field. If they're raising their ticket prices, Scott, more than what they've done over their last 7-8 years of existence, are they mad?
Let me give an example of something to answer the question. I'm not going to give you a direct answer right away. I'm going to give you something. So, as you know, you mentioned the Brantford Bulldogs at the top of the show, or Rick did, and they just got the go-ahead to build a new arena. Right. And it's going to be bigger. It's going to be 5,000 seats or whatever. The Brantford Bulldogs right now are a great hockey team. This year, they have been trading for everyone. They've got now 5 former captains. To win the Memorial Cup. They're a favorite to win the Memorial Cup. The Brantford Bulldogs, I think, would be very smart that while they are having this success, even before the arena is built, to spend this year selling season tickets for when that new arena opens. Because when the going is good, people are willing to spend their money on that. How much more difficult does it become for the Bulldogs if that arena opens in 2 years or 3 years and you've gone all in on this year's Memorial Cup and now you're a last place team? Yeah. It's a much harder thing. That's my long way of getting to the fact of what you just said. Forge has been very, very successful. If there comes a point, and I don't know what the yearly annual increase has been, but if there's a point when you're going to raise ticket prices, to me, I get why they would do it while the team is still winning, as opposed to that inevitable time, because every team goes through a struggle when things finally drop off for Forge, and then you go, oh, by the way, your tickets are going up by X dollars. Yeah. I don't know about these numbers. I've talked to some people from the fan club, the booster club, and some are more upset about it than others, but I get why, if there's going to be an increase, why you do it now. You do it while people are feeling good about the team.
Yeah, this falls under the heading of surge pricing, right? When there's a big concert that comes to town or something is going good, whether it's from a sport or entertainment perspective, that you know you're going to pay a premium. And I think after multiple championships, you know, international exposure, whether it's CONCACAF or you know, the Canadian Championship, they, I think, have earned the right to say, yeah, you know, you're experiencing a premium product in Southern Ontario, so we're going to charge you a little bit more. 61% more, and we haven't verified this number, but that seems to be a significant, maybe even an exorbitant amount. 10%, 20%, okay, I think fans could live with that. Anything over 50% might be, you know, under the gouging kind of headline.
And what did you just say 5 minutes ago about PWHL?
Yeah,
it's you do run a risk, and I don't know if they're saying all tickets or there's a few people in a certain section that are. Again, I'm seeing that letter, but you said it. Price point. This city is notorious for being a city that is very conscious of dollars spent on sports and things like that. I am sure that Forge has done their market research to find out or have some confidence that people are going to be okay with this.
Well, like, yeah, one of the things that they've instituted, and I think it's a youth membership, they call it. It's like $10 per game for a child under, I think it's 12 or whatever. So, I mean, they're doing something on that end, but if they're doing the opposite to their longtime supporters, kind of seems counterintuitive.
Because this is, of all the teams in the CPL, I would say and we're Hamilton guys, it's the most loyal fan base. I think. Yeah. That's what I kind of see. Their attendance is generally, if not the best, near the top. But going in another direction, you talked about it and you kind of compared it, guys, to the PWHL, which to me is in itself it's its own thing, because there's not professional women's hockey anywhere else really in the world. Yeah. There is soccer leagues all over the world here, and you did say premium product. I think one of the struggles of the CPL is that people don't think it's a premium product. They think of the Premier League in England, they think of, you know, Champions League stuff as the premier product. Right. And that right now, the CPL, who've just lost a team in Winnipeg, right? They've just lost a team in Winnipeg. I don't know if they plan to expand or what their plans are. I know there is something going on in Quebec that seems to be in the works that or maybe is already happened. But as the CPL, and I say this as a whole, is the CPL established enough in itself to increase ticket prices?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in terms of the premium product when you're looking at Champions League or Serie A or the EPL is you can't go there. And if you do, you're going to be paying a premium to get there, to watch it. You know, you can watch it on TV for sure. You can certainly watch Forge on TV, but you can actually be there in the stadium if you're from this area, obviously. And the price points are very different between going to a game in, you know, the English Premier League and Forge FC, and you got to get there too. So,
well, say we compare to the MLS. You can compare it to
MLS,
right?
Certainly, there's a difference in price point there. If you're going to a TFC game and you're from Hamilton, you're driving there, you're parking there, you're spending money, obviously the ticket prices are elevated in Toronto for sure. Okay, but in the same sense, you know, if you're from Hamilton, you're cheering for Forge FC. You're not cheering for TFC. Right?
But TFC there's a great lesson, though, in TFC. And I've long wondered, Forge has never had a bad year. Forge has come in, and they've been the best team or the second best team every single year that the CPL has existed. Now, look down the road. When TFC was winning the MLS championship, You couldn't get a ticket. They were doing parades down Bathurst Street into the stadium. And now it's not that hard to get a ticket. If Forge, and again, every team is going to have a blip. If Bobby Smirniotis leaves, or whatever, and this team now is not what it's been, what is that fan base? What is that fan base? If all of a sudden Forge was for 2 years a bottom third team in the league, what is that? Is that fan base exactly the same? Are they diehard fans, win or lose?
This could get tested. I'm glad you brought that up, Scott. This could get tested because I think of all the off seasons in Forge's history, and hey, they've got a big international match coming up very, very soon, within a month from now. This team has changed. There's some experienced veterans, well-known names that are no longer with this club any longer, and they've been retooled a little bit. This team's going to look, as Bobby has done, he has kind of retooled every single year. I'm not saying it's a complete rebuild, but this, could be a team, and a team that did not win the end title. Now, they put together a beautiful win streak, but they didn't get what they really wanted, is what I'll say. Right? Like, this team could be a little bit different in terms of being favored to win like they have for the last 7 to 8 years.
You can make the argument that, last season was the first year they did not make the final. So was that the start of, here comes the decline, right? Because for the first 6 seasons or whatever it has been, they've either won the championship or they've been in the final. And last year they didn't make the final, even though they won the regular season standings. Like, is this the beginning of the decline that, sports is cyclical. You go through these cycles where you're at the top of the table for many years and then eventually you get down. So it'll be interesting to see if the fans continue to follow suit.
Yeah, we only don't know this, and we're not being, I don't think we're saying something that's unfair, because we only have seen this team winning. So we don't have any context or any history of what is the fan base, how does it react if things don't go as well. We've just never seen it, so we don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe every single person who's there would be there even if they lost every single game of the year because they're just diehard fans. That could be. I don't know, but we've just never seen it. Credit to them for that.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know what you're doing this weekend. I'm going to be on something very similar. I hate to admit it. I should be doing more athletically, but I'm going to be
pleather red couch at home?
Not this color, but I will be stuck in one of these in front of my big screen at home, and maybe you don't even have to change the channel because the NFL Wildcard Weekend, folks, is here, and the games are just unbelievable matchups. I can't remember. I've been watching the National Football League hard since 1980, right? And I can't remember a year which has been more baffling, it's been more unpredictable, probably the most fun as well too, outside of the stress of my own team.
Wait a second. Rick is a Dolphins fan. I don't think he's saying this has been a fun year. Nothing fun about this year.
Nothing but torment for him. But as a Bills fan, there's been, and I know you are too, and you've made the trip, and you and your son go all the games. Like, it's a torment. It's been a stressful situation. And the stress will continue this Sunday as they go to Jacksonville FLA to play the 13-4, the 12-5 Bills play the 13-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. Scott Radley, there has been conversation. Of course, ESPN, their 24-hour sports network, and of course, the main topic for them is the National Football League. It just brings in so many viewers and so many opinions as you build the hype for the week. Where am I going with this? Their conversation is that the Buffalo Bills, even though they're a 1.5-point favorite to beat the Jags, is that overlooking in the situation is that Josh Allen, their MVP quarterback, he's under the most pressure of any of the 14 quarterbacks that have made the postseason. Here is Josh Allen's playoff record over his 8 seasons with the Buffalo Bills. Is he under pressure?
So how many games have we seen in the playoffs involving the Buffalo Bills where they've lost, where the last shot is not Josh Allen on the field not completing a pass to end the game, but him sitting on the bench while his defense chokes up a fur ball and allows Kansas City to march down the field in 13 seconds? Or
of that away record, 3 of them, 0-4, 3 of them have been that very thing at Arrowhead.
How many of those games legitimately can you blame on Josh Allen's performance? I would say 0.
He was brilliant in all 3 of those. In fact, all 4 of those away losses, he played very well.
His defense has let him down again and again, and the one time that it wasn't necessarily his defense, he threw a perfect 50-yard pass that went right through Stephon Diggs' hands that would have won them the game. So ESPN saying, oh, you know what, there's no Lamar Jackson, there's no Patrick Mahomes, there's no Joe Burrow, so there's no excuse.
The door is open.
There's no excuse. Unless
there's no Tua, let's not forget.
No Tua. Unless Josh Allen also suits up on defense for a very, very shaky at times Buffalo defense. I don't know how the pressure's on him. Now, if he goes out and stinks out the joint, okay. But if he plays like he has in most playoff games, and the defense once again gives up 35, 36
But he's
points,
Superman.
He's put up huge points, but his defense constantly chokes it up. I've never understood how that falls on him.
I'll put it this way, at least in this season, right? And the conversation has been the Bills' defense. That it's porous, it's poor against the run.
Injured, too. Very injured.
And have had incredible injuries for 2 years, really. The stats, you can twist them any way you want. And I'm going to twist them in a particular way here, right? And I know we've had this discussion. The Bills over their last 6 games are 5-1. Their defense, statistically, in terms of yards allowed, especially on the ground, over the 17 game season, are amongst the worst in the league. Yet, if you do a little work and look beyond the numbers, in this 5-1 stretch down the stretch, the Bills' defense ranks number 1 in the league in points allowed and in rush yards allowed in the second half of those 6 games. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, I can look, if I had the numbers in front of me, I'd look even deeper because I'd look at which teams they played and did they lead in the second half of those ball games. And the answer is probably they probably didn't play the best teams.
They played the Patriots.
I know the Patriots were one.
They played the Eagles.
Are a complete fraud.
Okay. Look at the teams that they played. Think about it. They played the Patriots. They played the Bengals. They played the Jets. They played. I can't even think. They played the Eagles right there as well too. So the quality has been pretty good.
Yes.
And they were losing in the first half in a lot of them.
I look to that Patriots game, and I know it was the one loss in the 5-1, down the stretch. And when I was watching this game, I'm thinking, this is my opinion, this is how the Bills are going to win in the playoffs. They're going to have to outscore the opposition. And if they don't, they're going to have to hope that their defense has a lights-out game. And they don't have the luxury of playing at Highmark Stadium, right? Unless something at the top of the AFC really goes haywire in the AFC Championship game, they're not going to play at home. So that's a huge advantage to any team, especially come playoff time. So I think that, the pressure is on Josh Allen unfairly. When the going is good, the quarterback gets all the credit. When the team stinks, you got to trade this guy. I think he's got to perform, but I think the defense especially has to have its best games.
Pittsburgh is another one of those games that they played.
If the Bills, when they say the pressure's on Josh Allen, if Josh Allen was not on the Bills, they did not have him, and Mitch Trubisky was their starting quarterback, they would be a 5-12 team.
Yeah. Well, you didn't see him last week. He was 21 of 25,
against
4 touchdowns.
That doesn't even count.
Come on.
We also
first round draft pick.
We saw what happened when Rob Johnson played for Doug Flutie back in the last regular season.
NFL history without an interception.
Unbelievable.
I
actually went and did the looking because I was so baffled by that statistic because I was talking to Stavros Katsantonis, a DB, about this. The New York Jets defended 510 passes.
Wow.
And did not intercept the pass.
I'm surprised it wasn't more than that.
It's incredible. And Stavros had 3 interceptions in one game.
Well, and in the Buffalo game, in the last game of the season, I can't remember who the Jets defender was. The ball hit him in the hands and then in the chest. You could not have handed it to him better. But.
And their head coach is one of the best DBs in Jets history, in Aaron Glenn.
It's pretty wild.
Of course there's going to be some pressure on Josh Allen from the outside because it is a quarterback league and he's the face of the team. As I say, if they don't have him, they're not even remotely close to the playoffs. Yeah. And I think there's other teams that are honestly under more pressure. I think Matthew Stafford with the Rams, because his career is almost done.
He's won already, though.
I know he's won. You're right, but I think he probably realizes this is likely his last great chance. Yeah. And so personally, maybe not the outside pressure. Personally, I better win because I don't know when I'm going to be back.
I think he's the MVP of the year this year too. I think he's the MVP.
I think he will be because what's your alternative? New England's quarterback.
Drake May.
And honestly, I said this. New England, to me, is the greatest fraud in history. They win the division, and I think they beat 2 playoff teams this year. They beat Buffalo. Fair enough, in Buffalo. Good win. But their schedule was ludicrous.
Well, when you're last place for that amount of time, that's what you get. Right?
And so I think they may win this week, only because the Chargers I don't really necessarily think are great. But I don't think, people like New England could go all the way. New England's not going all the way. New England's out early.
Real quick, guys, 'cause I can't wait to get to the next thing. What's your for sure win this weekend, and you think the upset special?
For sure win this weekend's got to be the Rams. They're in Carolina. I know Carolina beat LA a few weeks ago, but they have revenge on the mind. They're a much better team. Stafford and Puka and Devontae Adams is back in the lineup. For sure win. And what was the other question?
Upset.
Upset? Would the Packers over the Bears be considered a big upset?
Seedings wise, yeah.
Yeah, sure. That would be my upset. I mean, I know the Texans, I think, are favored over the Steelers. But, yeah, I'll go Packers over Bears.
I think that is an upset. Yeah. I mean, the Bears are a better team right now than the Packers are, and they have a quarterback that's been injured in Green Bay as well,
Green Bay, yes. Quarterback
I'll go with the same win, and I think San Francisco loses to Philly. I think Philadelphia is. They're one of those teams that has not played to their potential yet, but because they, you've been to the Super Bowl last year. Sometimes you need to have that thing to make it matter. And I think that thing will get them playing right.
It's crazy. Philly is a weird team to me. They actually scare me because I feel like they've been kind of playing possum a little bit. I feel like they've just been kind of like
disinterested.
Disinterested.
Good word.
But knowing this is the money time. Exactly. Now, can you flip the switch? We're going to find out. Oh, this is great. And I love this. Leafs Nation are up in arms in this debate, and I know you guys love the Leafs. I don't.
Unfortunately.
And this is great. And really, it's true. Hey, so, a Sabres fan, we might make the playoffs this year. Yay. Auston Matthews moved into the annals of being their greatest goal scorer of all time by passing Matt Sundin last weekend against the New York Islanders, hitting goal number 421 and then now 22. Leads the way. The discussion now, plain and simple, you see it on the board. Those were his regular season statistics, were very impressive. Simple question, Rick. Is Auston Matthews the GOAT, the greatest of all time in blue and white?
I'll give you 3 words. Not even close. How about that? Regular season performer, outstanding. 69 goals in a season, all-time goal-scoring leader, the current captain of the blue and white, tremendous player on both ends of the ice. And I don't think he gets enough credit for his defensive strength. Good face-off guy. But to me, I look at Dave Keon, Darryl Sittler, even Johnny Bower, guys like that who've won Stanley Cups. They've actually won something. Give me those guys.
Sittler didn't win anything.
Well, okay.
At least he won a Canada Cup.
Davey Keon, he did.
This is 76 Canada Cup, though.
These guys actually won something. I'll take those guys over Matthews. And, he's an awesome player. And I'll take him every day and twice on Sunday.
Really?
But come playoff time, I want something else. I want
you
something
don't think
more.
Auston Matthews is more talented than...
that's not what you asked.
Sorry. Okay, fair.
Talent level.
But talent is part of greatness, isn't it?
I don't think there's a question.
No, most talented.
He is unbelievably talented. Yes.
Easily most talented player.
Okay.
But if you were to say to me, you can have a full career of Auston Matthews or a full career of Doug Gilmour, I will take Doug Gilmour every single day of the week because his talent level is not quite there, but who played harder, made more of an impact in huge games, in meaningful games, and who dragged his teammates into the fight with him so they all played that same way. You could say that with Wendell Clark as well.
Yep.
And I have never seen Auston Matthews be the guy who suddenly all of his teammates are going, we got to follow that guy. Never. He is a great player. He is a fantastic player. But even in the biggest moments in the Four Nations Cup. Auston Matthews had 2 spectacular, I don't know if you remember.
He was hurt last year.
In overtime against Canada. He could have won the tournament. Yeah. And when it really mattered, somehow it just doesn't happen.
I thought he was hurt last year. I got to repeat that. I think he's healthy now. Doesn't that shot look like it's back now? Like, there's a lot to rave about this guy right now.
He looks like he's the healthiest he's been in a long time. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that. He's got 7 goals in the last 5 games.
It's 6 in the last 3.
Yeah. Talent, skill, there is no question. And he can do things that most guys in the league can't do. But is he a guy that's going to drag his team to be a winner? And we just talked about a lot of things with no evidence. There is no evidence of that yet. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Everyone has to win their first one, right? But he's been in the league now how many years? 10 years, and he's won 2 playoff series.
So just conveniently here are his playoffs numbers. Maybe there's some. And remember, he's got some time to go.
And he's played a lot of playoff games, even though they haven't won
more than his predecessors would have, because there's more games right now in the playoffs.
Even though they haven't played a lot of rounds in those playoff series in comparison to,
because everything's a 7-game series, right?
That's right.
Like Sittler and Keon, they didn't have that option, right? There wasn't 4 rounds for Keon, right? But
if I could have the skill level of an Auston Matthews with the heart of a Darcy Tucker and the menacing physicality of a Wendell Clark and that whatever Doug Gilmour had, and he had it in spades. He's a very talented guy too.
I hear this all the time. I'm sorry, Rick. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have to here. What does heart mean? How do you measure heart? And like I hear that Auston Matthews doesn't care, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But there's an attitude about that. You guys know this. That this is a discussion that he doesn't know. He doesn't have the heart of a Gilmour. He does. He's not Wendell. Like, you don't think he's the captain?
Yeah, and I'm not questioning that he doesn't have the heart, because he certainly cares, right? He wants to win. We've seen that throughout his career. He's a very competitive guy. He wants to win championships. Those postseason, we lost once again in the first round, interviews, you can see that he's very dejected, disappointed, and is thinking about his team, his legacy. But you don't get the sense from the outside looking in that this is a guy who rallies the troops and says, get on my back, we're doing this thing. Not like you see with Connor McDavid.
Doesn't take over. And look, go back to the great Oilers dynasty of the 80s. All right, there's no question who the best player on that team was. By a mile, Wayne Gretzky, and he had talent, but there was around him, but he was by far the best player. But who was the guy who was the unquestioned leader of that team? Mark Messier, because of the way he played, the physicality. There are stories of, I can't remember who the teammate was, but there's stories in the dressing room. One guy wasn't playing well, and Messier grabbed him, picked him up against the wall, and basically said, "You will play, you will dig in." And the point is, there are certain guys whose style, you hear it all the time with the Senators. Now they've not won anything, but you hear, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, guys whose style says, "I'm at the front of the charge. Follow me, and we are not going to accept losing." And I don't think that Auston Matthews doesn't care, but you never get the sense that it is not an option. That there's this feeling that, well, if we lose, it is literally the end of the world. You never get that sense.
Is okay to put him in that GOAT category, to be considered as the Maple Leafs GOAT, because I think from what you're telling me now, that he's clearly not the GOAT. But for him to be considered that is the Stanley Cup. Winning a Stanley Cup is
Get to a final.
Or maybe a couple of conference finals, right? Because that's what Sundin did. That's what
Gilmour did. That's what Clark did.
And not only did they get there, but they were the stars of the show. Like, they were the point producers. They were scoring the big goals, whether it was an overtime game. Yeah, those guys performed in the playoffs. They got deep in the playoffs multiple times. If he does that, I would consider putting him at the top of the list.
Because I think that's the craziest thing about the Maple Leafs, is that everything gets compared to the Wendell Clark and the Doug Gilmour era and those years of them going to the Final Four. Back-to-back years in the early 90s. They got whacked by L.A. the one year, and then Vancouver the next, and really demolished them. But yet I sit there and I think to myself, boy, these guys are heroes. They are heroes in Southern Ontario. Yet they didn't even win anything.
No.
They ultimately did not win anything. So what's separating, Auston Matthews from getting that love? There's people out there that say, hey, if it doesn't work out this year, maybe he should be traded.
Yeah, I think that's silly. I would never trade the guy unless you're getting a king's ransom in return. But you mentioned those two teams, right? They had the teams at the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, or the early 90s and early 2000s, who went to the conference final, the deepest that the franchise has ever been. Because back in the day, there was only 2 rounds.
That's right.
So they got to round 3. It was like almost getting to a final, even though, they didn't win the trophy. That was, I think, the most recent example of crazy success that the franchise had on the ice.
I believe that we are all about the same age. I think I might be the oldest one here by a year, maybe, or less. I have not been alive to see the Leafs play in a Stanley Cup final. In my lifetime, I've not even been forget a cup. I've not been alive to see them. Joe Bowen is finishing his 44th, 45th year, whatever it is. He's not called a Stanley Cup final. It's unbelievable. It's truly like there are teams that are not even really good franchises that stumble their way to at least a final.
Almost every team in the National Hockey League, you can go all down the list of teams, expansion teams. Think about Vegas. How quick did it and I know there were people say there were rules and the draft. Regardless, they got there.
Yeah,
right?
But they made it to the Vancouver has never won a cup. Unless you consider the Vancouver Millionaires back in like 1911. But they've been to the finals.
Yeah.
Pick your team. The fact that they've never the Blue Jays, the Leafs. Here's 2 amazing numbers that it blew me away last year when someone mentioned this. They have never played a game in June. That is stunning, and they've never won 3 playoff rounds in a single season.
That's right.
Wow.
Because when they were winning cups, it was when there was 2 rounds to win the cup with the original 6. It's like we're in an area here where we kind of get used to this because the Ticats don't win, and the Blue Jays get close but don't win, and the Bills don't win, and the Sabres don't win, and the Leafs don't win, and so we get dulled and numb to how bad and how unbelievable it is that this franchise could be this bad for this long. And then, by the way, you hear people in Boston go, we suffered for the last 2 years with the Patriots finishing last, but we're back now. And it's like Boston wins a championship every second year and something. We have gotten absolutely dental frozen numb to the fact that every team around here sucks more often than not.
You know who do win in Toronto? The Argos.
Yeah, but nobody in Toronto cares.
We're not talking about that. All I know is I need to go home and have a stiff drink.
You know what? And we're going to close it out, but I swear I have to throw an audible, and we can be really quick with this, but it's one of these fun things that kind of popped up as I started reading, and I did some research this morning, and it blew me away. We were talking about soccer. In the English Premier League, you have Tottenham that are not doing very well right now, and Arsenal, who are, in my opinion, I'm a City fan, but Arsenal are the best team in the league right now, and I think they should win their title after knocking on the door for some time. Regardless, somehow on film or on a reporter was taking a picture and saw Thomas Frank, who's the manager of Tottenham, in the locker room sipping his espresso with an Arsenal cup. With an Arsenal cup.
Right.
And he's the manager of Tottenham. Is that a fireable offense? He's getting shredded. He's at a press conference to explain that it was a dumb thing, but
this was during a game.
He was just in the he was in like the locker room in the facility, walking around with his espresso in an Arsenal cup.
Yeah.
Like, is that a fireable offense?
I mean, those football guys are crazy in Europe in terms of firing for the silliest of reasons. I think this is akin to maybe stepping on a logo. You shouldn't do that. Sipping from an opponent's cup is a huge no-no. I don't think he should be fired, though.
How did he get the cup? How did the cup? Did someone say, "Here's your cup," and it was handed to him sideways, and he never saw what it was?
Yeah.
And so he just
What's
took
an Arsenal cup doing in the facility?
That's what I wonder. How does the cup get in there? That's a bigger question. Like, how did someone prank them? Was it a joke? Was it a?
So.
I mean, you could imagine that somebody decides to play a joke. and you're a Leaf fan, so someone leaves a Canadiens hat on your desk, and then someone snaps a picture of the Canadiens hat and goes, "Oh, Zamperin should be fired because."
I know, but this manager is enjoying his espresso with his cup.
Do we know that he saw the cup? We saw. I mean, how many times? Look,
it's a big red. It's a big red cup. Arsenal are blue and white, and it's big red with the logo on it. Not to knock you here, but I saw the cup. It's a big red cup.
So it's unmistakable.
It says Arsenal on it with their logo. It's crazy. One of the wildest things. And in fact, like I said, he's had a press conference to address this.
Yeah.
Wow. No, now coaching Wrexham.
Ryan Reynolds is on the phone. He wants
Guys, fabulous to have you. Again, anytime we get these, especially the local topics, I love bringing you in. Opinions are always expert. You guys are so well researched and you're so into the knowledge. I'm always great to have you guys on the Sportsline Podcast. Appreciate you always being on, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right. That's the Sportsline Podcast for the day. And as you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast do want to hear from you. Please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. And if you have something to say like these fellas, we always appreciate your comments. For the outstanding people that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you real soon.